a Dredfunn original production. Please sit back and enjoy.
Hey guys, time for another Dredfunn Draws. I am going to draw Superman this time. What we're going to need is, we're going to use a 0.5 micron, a 0.1 micron, whatever kind of pencil you have at home. I mean, I prefer the mechanical pencil, 0.5 lead, but as I said, you can use whatever you got. Alright, we're going to lay down the structure of how we're going to do Superman. We're just going to do a standard pose like I've been doing in some of the other videos, Spider-Man and Batman. So we're going to start with kind of like a circle, oval part for the head. We're going to put it up there. I already don't like the positioning. We got to move up a little bit. Here we go. That's much better. So there we go. We got our little oval. And then from there, just going to lay out the neck right away. We know Superman's got a big, thick neck. He's a big, thick fella, so again, these blocky parts that you want to lay in are definitely going to be thicker. What I'm going to do this time, though, is we're gonna sort of maybe switch it up a bit and kind of give him a sort of a heroic pose. So I'm going to pull those lines back, and we're going to bring this part of the shape over, and then like that. Do that, our little upside down triangle or Dorito, whatever you want to call it. And we're going to flare this leg down, sort of bring it out here. And then this leg like this, kind of giving him a nice heroic pose. Sort of get the foot there, and then with the arms, we're just going to have them standing there. Like I said, he's very Superman-esque. Not too bad. Like I said, you know, you want to use a light hand. You don't want to be going too heavy. If you hear my camera going off, it's just because taking pictures that go along with the Instagram posts that I'll be doing. Alright, once you got your skeletal structure laid out, you're then going to want to go ahead and start laying out the musculature. We're going to focus mostly on just the body first. Again, we got the trap muscles. They're pretty large. Superman's going to be buff, but I prefer a kind of hybrid sort of Alex Ross look to him, where he's unusually thick, but and not overly muscular, meaning not ripped, not a lot of detail. I don't draw him with any veins or anything, so there we got a nice outline for where the arms are going to go. And we're going to draw this like that, sort of giving it a flare. So this part of the chest is going to go over the shoulder area, and then this part is going to come down here, and then that way the chest has to go sort of like that instead of straight on. It's almost like you're moving the torso over just a little bit. Going to throw in roughly where the lats of his back are going to meet his underside of his ribs. A little bit of butt muscle, not much, and then the crotch area, and then these quadricep muscles, they all sort of tie into almost like a teardrop, the front and back side of the calf that attaches back into the foot, the classic comic foot, which we're going to be putting into a comic boot. And then this one, like I said, it's going to be slightly turned, so we're just going to turn the leg slightly. Again, focusing on which way the muscles are going to go. And there we go. If you want at home, this is a good time if you're just doing this to erase certain parts. For me, sometimes I leave these lines in. If I'm in a rush, you know, I don't really worry too much about it. Alright, so we've got a rough area of where the muscles are going to go. That pec's going to sort of flare over. Now I'm just going to detail some of these other areas here, where the bicep and the brachioradialis meet in with the tricep and sort of come down and in. The back side of that muscle, and then the hands, going to sort of have them kind of flared, but not exactly, kind of, like I said, a classic sort of pose. With this one, again, it's going to be slightly turned. Not exactly the same as this one because the hand is slightly turned. So there we go. We got some of the fingers, and boom. Not so bad. Boom. There you go. Got a rough idea. This is going to be the classic Superman. So I'm going to go ahead and basically detail everything else, and then we'll go in and zoom in on the head. Alright. Now try to lay out the costume. His upper part of his body here, he doesn't have a high collar. Superman, well, in some of the more later interpretations he does, of course. But for classic Superman, it sort of comes down and around where the pec line is. And then he's got a cape that sort of goes up here. We will go into detailing that a little bit later. And then the way you want it to flow out is sort of an outside line. And then what I like to do is just sort of go like that, making a nice sort of swirly swirls. Not exactly blowing in the wind, but, you know, kind of has some depth to it, or some realistic point to it. Alright, sort of cuff off the arms here. The belt, again, he's going to be slightly turned. Not completely, but slightly. So the belt is not going to be center from the head, which is going to be turned slightly to look. It's almost like the body's going to come down like this, straightwise. Alright, belt loop. Boom, 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 boom. And then, of course, classic Superman underoos. And then the boots. He's got a little flare to the boot, or I don't know what it's called. I guess it's like a W or an M because of Superman. So, there we go. Fill out the boot a bit more. Again, a loose pencil works here. You don't want to go too much. Now, of course, here's where you make or break them. You gotta outline what you're going to do for the big S on the chest. Alright, now I'm going to again take you through what we're going to detail here, and later we're going to ink. So darkening up the shoulder muscle again into the tricep, the forearms, they're going to come around, and like I said, I want to have big thick muscles. Not exactly, you know, super huge. We're not going to be showing all the musculature, no veinage or anything like that. Part of that is because of the costume he's in, and just, you know, a matter of preference. I just like the way Superman has always looked as a big, brawny, bulky kind of fella. Alright, and then the pec muscles, kind of gonna do that, maybe some line work. The collarbone sort of coming around here. This pec's gonna go that way, and then the deltoid breaks into 3 heads. You got like a front, a side, and a back, posterior, anterior, whatever you want to call them. And then again the bicep, which is going to be similar in position but slightly turned. So this tricep's going to flare, and then this muscle is going to come down like this, and it's big and chunky. Boom, little bit of detail in there for the back of the forearm. Again, just sort of getting a rough idea where I'm going to put the fingers, not focusing too much on uber detail. Again, sort of trying to keep this down to a certain timeline here. Ab muscles. Because Superman's, I don't like to depict them all super ripped, I tend to just, again, light on the detail, not too much. Alright, there we go. We got the upper body. Maybe we're going to throw some of my straight lines, which I'll then go ahead and detail slightly later with my pen. With this, I you know, sometimes I will go hyper detailed and figure it all out, but again, time being an issue, I don't want to go too much. Alright, now down to the legs. Again, you know, studying the human anatomy is always going to help you and know where all these muscles sort of tie in. You got that part of the quad that comes up, and then this big chunky part here, and then that there, and then this part of the thigh, when he's facing that way, is going to kind of come around like that. Again, not going to go too much into uber detail. We've got the knee bone, and then the front of the shin, and then with the calf, you're going to have both sides. You're going to have an ankle right about here, the boot, and the underside of the boot, and maybe have it so it sort of creases. Again, on this leg, You're going to have this interior quad muscle is going to be more prominent on that side. This part is going to be more up in here. And you have all those interior muscles, the kneecap, and then the calf is going to be more of a side view. And then the boot, again, boom. Not focusing too much on making it super detailed because I plan to ink this drawing. If you are laying out pencils that aren't going to be inked, spend that time, you know what I mean? Go right in there and render it down if you want, you know, darken it up as much as you like, you know, get every single nook and cranny outlined if you want. For me, you know, speed is a thing, and I like the free flow of the hand sometimes. With my realistic artwork, again, a lot of that is measuring. I'm pretty much just laying it all out, measuring stuff down, and then just following a guideline. It's almost like a road map. Alright, he's got some lines on the boots here. Now the cape, you're going to have this part sort of flaring in, and then this one I'm going to switch this line. Don't want it to go like that. I actually want it to come back and around like that. There we go. I'm actually going to go like that. I kind of like it sort of billowing in that way. Boom, keeping an idea of that material like this is going to flow. It's not going to be all bunched up. I mean, if you're going to do Batman, you can get away with more geometric shapes and whatnot, but for me, this is a nice little Superman image. Boom. Alright, now we're going to go in, and I'll zoom in here so we can do Mr. Jor-El's face. Alright, boom. Okay, there we go. That's pretty good. Alright, breaking it down. I'm going to put some ears on the side of the head. Superman has got a big, I heard it described once as a paint, like a paint can neck. It's as thick as a paint can. This is a rough guide. I'm not going to go in and hold it too. Just with this stuff, like I said, I sort of try to shape it all out here. Now where the eyes are going to go, kind of right about here. My nose, which lines up with the bottom of the ears, the top of the ears line up sort of where the eyebrows are going to be. And then the mouth, we're going to sort of have them not smiling but not frowning, sort of smirking. Alright, now eyebrows, sort of pensive, try to do them like that, keeping in mind what I want them to look like. With Spider-Man, you know, it was a lot easier. You don't have to go in there and detail all this stuff. Superman has got a nice classic comic book type feature to his face. You're not going to go too crazy on detailing all the little nuances and all the little areas. He's got those ice blue eyes, so you want to leave that there. But that gives you a nice classic sort of thick Superman look to his face. It almost looks like Lex Luthor. Detailing some of these neck muscles, which are going to tie into the muscles here, and then the cape is going to sort of go kind of like that, and later we'll detail that. Now time to throw some hair on the man. He's always got the classic S curl, which sort of goes like this and like that. Boom, chicka 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 boom. And then he parts his hair classically over on this side. Then you sort of kind of fill it out. You don't want to go too much. Boom. Alright, a little bit of the sideburn. Okay, and let's sort of detail this area here, give myself a good guideline to go with when I start when we start inking this. Alright, there we go. Now last but not least, we're going to do the S. What I like to do is I'll just sort of give myself a rough guideline here, because it's sort of swervy. Now the way it kind of goes over here is it connects but not quite. And then you got this part here, and then under here kind of flares up there, giving you that weird wonky shape. I'm not gonna lie, Superman's symbol as a kid blew my mind. I had a hard time with it. Like you know, when you stare at those dots, those boats, and you're supposed to be able to see a boat in the dots. I still can't do it. I have a hard time even seeing classical 3D. Alright, there you go. If you want, you can go in and line these, because you're going to pull that stuff out, give you a good idea what the S looks like. I already see that I don't like the way that part there looks, so pull out the eraser and sort of bring it more over like that. There we go. Alright, perfect. Now, time to break out the pens. So I said I'm going to use a 5 and a 1. Alright, I'm going to use the 5, and for this, yeah, we'll keep it in like this to do the head. Again, I'm going to keep it nice and simple. I like to sort of detail the ears, get the thick neck, single pen line strokes. If you want, you can go back and forth, but for me, I just like you doing it this way. Sort of highlighting the S where the hair comes down, and boom, like that. Now I'm going to go in and darken some of this. So we're going to darken that part down here, this part up here, sort of the underside, and kind of show that his hair combed and goes over to the side. Now I'm going to go in and detail the rest of this with my smaller pen. Got the eyebrows. Again, for this, I do like using the back and forth technique. I'm going to go ahead and detail that powerful schnoz. The eyes, you're not going to have a lot of room in these drawings to throw in an elliptical fold. Really, it's about what you put in and what you leave out. As you can see, I use my pencils as a guide to where I'm going to put my inks. I don't know if that's technically right, but it works for me. Throw a few creases in there, and again the smiley sort of slightly upturned look. Some crow's feet. Detail his cheekbones, these upper parts here. Maybe throw a couple creases, and then we're going to do that jaw. Big, powerful jaw. The mandible will turn slightly. Again, you're not going to see these kind of faces in the real world, at least not very often, because these type of faces in comic books, they only exist in comic books. So with my smaller pen, I'm going to go in here and detail some of the hair, sort of making it go like that, keeping in mind that when the artist who's going to go ahead and color this has lots to work with. Alright, we're going to zoom out and do the rest of Superman here. Nice and quick and chop chop, get this finished up. Alright, back to the big thick number 5. Alright, we're going to do the cape, which comes in and it's sort of, you know, it said kind of attaches right here to Superman's shoulders or collarbone area. Bring that straight across. Sort of add some more neat little lines. Again, I like to have it sort of fold over at this part here, and then I will detail the shoulder muscles. Keeping in mind that from this angle, the side delt is going to sort of be more in as opposed to the front deltoid. There we go. Attach the tricep. Notice I don't have an elbow. I think it would look good there. Add that. Cuff it off. Bicep is going to sort of attach in here. Nice and big and thick. Again, I am not going to hyper detail a lot of this stuff. Superman's outfit doesn't really have a lot of that. Now, again, you'll notice I'm all smudged up there. Nice little secret, you can use some old paper if you got it. Plop it down and that should limit your smudging. Sometimes I don't care, other times it bugs the crap out of me. Alright, bringing the muscles in here. Now we're going to finish up this hand. Again, it breaks down into geometric shapes. You don't want to get too detail-y, but you do want to throw in enough detail that you can see it's a hand. You're going to have all those sort of tendon muscles and the wrinkles. And now we're going to flare out and do the belt. Okay. Again, this deltoid is going to be the more prominent one. This one's going to sort of sneak under. The cape's going to go there. And now we're going to do the pecs. We're going to go like this. And this area I'm actually going to darken slightly with some hatching. I don't normally hatch with a big pen, but I think I'm going to try it, and then I'm going to cover it up. I like the darker. There we go. Good enough. Alright, we're going to do this over here too, bringing up the pec muscle. This part of the sort of delta, or not deltoid, but latissimal dorsi and rib cage are going to be slightly different. Remember, the lines coming down like this. Not that you want it all equal. Nobody is symmetrical. I mean, in comic books, if anybody's going to be people in comic books. But most people, you're not going to have symmetry. Boom, again, sort of showing areas that I can give the colorist a good spot to do all kinds of detailing in the muscle. Again, the forearm muscle is going to be slightly turned. You're not going to see the side of the elbow. And this muscle is going to look more almost like a lamb chop, I think. And then, there we go, cap it off. The bicep will come around and it'll be more of a full bicep. You're not going to have as much area darkened there. And again, the hand is going to be slightly different because it's facing a slight different angle, so these fingers are going to be underneath. Alright, belt buckle time. Bango. Not too bad. There we go. Alright, on to his knickers, his undies. They're going to go like that, keeping in mind that certain parts of the crotch are going to be creased. I don't like to go too detailed oriented, just a sort of couple there. Leave it lots of stuff for, again, the colorist to add. A lot of times I'll be the colorist, so it's just areas that I'll keep in mind. Okay, on to the leg muscles. Again, I'm using my pencils as a rough guide. A good guide, but keeping in mind that I'm looking for little things that I don't like on the fly. You know, a lot of people will stress over making mistakes. This position I've drawn dozens of times. Different characters. Again, not going to go too crazy on the detail. We're just focusing on muscles, the kneecap, which sort of front of the calf, the shin bone, I guess it is. This sort of back end of the quad. It's sort of a hammy there. Well, I guess the hams are on the other side. You'll see them here. Those are the hamstrings. Alright, calf muscle. Again, bang, keeping in mind where my guideline is. Don't want to press too hard with pens because they can slip. I've learned that. And you don't want to cramp your hand up. I'm already getting a bit of a cramp, but I live for cramps, I guess. Boom. Calf muscle. The knee is going to be slightly changed. It's going to be flared more out. It's a sort of a classic hero pose. It's kind of an unpractical hero pose. I mean, it's not a very comfortable pose to do. Alright, there we go. Sort of draw an ankle. Now we're going to do the cape. Again, using it as a guide, keeping the lines free, not going too crazy, trying to detail every little nook and cranny, because the cool thing with modern art is a lot of this stuff can be uber detailed by a colorist. Boom, keeping in mind that you want the cape to flow. There we go, it's looking pretty good. I'm going to go back up here, add a few lines to the cape. Also detail those neck muscles. He is definitely going to have predominant neck muscles. Alright, now we're going to do the S. Just going to go in with the bigger, thicker line pen. And then I'm going to finish up Superman here. Post haste. Great Scott! Alright. None of these lines are going to show up once we erase it, but they're good to have as a guide to show you where you want to stop, where you want to move things up, where you want to fill out the S, make it look more like the classic S. Like I said, it's one of those weird Rorschach thingies. I don't know if it is a Rorschach or if that's technically right. but it has always messed up my brain. There we go, nice. Sort of details some of the pec. Now I'm going to go in there and finish up his belt buckle. Has another line that goes around here, as do his boots. There you go. Now, again, I'm going to throw in some little bit of hatching, some line work, as I like to call it, just to show where we're going to have some shade off these muscles. I remember when I was little, I saw Jim Lee throwing all these lines down, and I started going, man, I gotta add those lines. And I didn't quite understand what they were for and why you're adding them. And those early art pictures, you can tell we're struggling. Just a mess of lines. So again, you don't want to go too crazy. My cats are at the door. They hear my voice, so they want to come in and play. Psychopaths. Damn lunatics. Alright, again, going vertically, or sorry, horizontally, and then coming back at a slight angle. There we go. Not too bad. Not too shabby. Not too shabby. Alright, I'm actually going to do some detailing under here. Some hatch work. Make his neckline pop. There we go. And also under the nose. Boom. There we go. So that is our Superman. Now we're going to take our eraser, graphite eraser, and pull out all that pencil lead. There you go. Nice and clean. Looking good. And then you sign your work, and away you go. So, hope you guys like this video. Don't forget to subscribe and pass it on. And join along at home. Like I said, if you got a piece of paper, pencil, I'd love to see. I'm on Instagram. You can catch me on Facebook. I'd love to see some of your own interpretations of what Superman looks like, or especially if you've followed my outline on how I approach drawing a comic book character. Anyways, Dredfunn out.
This has been a Dredfunn.com production. Thanks for watching.